We got some snow, dude, look. First snow of the season. Hey guys, how's it going? So Benjamin and I are heading out to the studio to do a few little projects. We actually got the first lightest of snows this morning and it was so magical. It was so cute because Benjamin and I were the only two people up in the house so far, and we were sitting on the couch together and I was looking at the weather app, as most gardeners do every day, to see what the day was going to be like, and it said it was currently snowing. So I told Benjamin and he just lit up and started to clap. We ran downstairs, he ran outside in his bare feet so that he could catch snowflakes. It was so cute. Anyway, all that said, I'll show you the little skiff of snow that's left. It's been like several hours since it actually did that, and most of it's gone at this point, but we are going to actually go start some seeds today. I am so excited. We're going to plant some amaryllis bulbs and then mess with a couple of my indoor plants. Look at that. It's kind of like icy at this point. It was nice and soft and fluffy this morning, and we had like a complete layer on all the surfaces and like dusted on all the plants. Little bits left in the coldest of spots. That's our soil bowl right there. We're gonna put soil in that to get it all wet.
Oh, ah.
Yeah. Plus I got you some snacks and a water in there.
Oh, let's go in that gate.
You wanna go through this one? Okay. Lots of pretty Christmas lights on this arbor. Whoa, a lot of lights. Dang. My goodness, the Phacelia, or bee's friend, is still sort of hanging in there. Still a few good flowers in there. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. We've got some lemon drop hot peppers, some mini snack or salad peppers, the baby bell, Persian baby cucumbers, green fingers, Campari tomatoes, good-hearted tomatoes, and evil olive tomatoes. Also some dill and basil. I typically don't start seeds in November, but this is going to be a really fun experiment because, as you know, we have our greenhouse double layered. We have the ability to heat it this winter, and I do intend on starting my regular garden seeds in there, probably sometime starting in January, and then, you know, as we progress into the spring, I'll be starting more and more in there. But I thought if I could get some of these things going now in here in the studio where it's nice and warm, like we keep it right around 70-ish in here, and then I can bump them out once we start heating the greenhouse, so like probably the end of December, so they can be in here for 6-7 weeks, or maybe even up to 8 weeks, or whenever we decide it's good enough to put them out there. I'm thinking it might be fun to see if we can get some productivity or some production out of some of these things a little earlier than normal. So I chose varieties that I either know do well inside, like the basil. I can always get basil to grow inside so long as I have light, sufficient light for it. But the other ones have shorter maturity days, so smaller tomatoes. I'm not looking at creating or growing some huge heirloom type tomatoes, some things that take, you know, so long to produce. I'm just thinking some things that take, let's see, 65 days for the good-hearted tomato. Campari is 78 days. The cucumbers here, 60 days. So things that don't take an enormous amount of time. Now, that doesn't include, you know, germinating, seed germinating time, time it takes for them to grow up to be like a transplant size, and then everything's gonna be longer because it's inside, not outside. So what I'm gonna do, this is the, what is it called? Seed starter kit? Gosh, I can't even remember the names, but this has got the self-watering reservoir. These are from Gardener's Supply. I started growing seeds with these a couple of years ago, and it was a game changer for me. Because while I don't use the self-watering portion until the seeds are up, I still use the spray, you know, like the mist system. Once they're up and more established and the roots can actually utilize that water that's being wicked up from underneath, it saves me so much time, because at that point I can put water in these reservoirs and they'll last for sometimes up to a week without needing to be filled. If I only started a handful of things in here, it probably wouldn't be as big of a deal, but we do a lot of seed starting. And so I was just looking at ways to create healthy plants while not having to be watering them 24/7. I've also got my very dirty bag of seed starting soil. We brought this big bowl from inside to moisten our seed starting mix. And Benjamin is probably gonna be watching a Christmas movie. Aaron just set us up with a TV in here, which we have a rolling cart coming so that we can roll it around in this room. So I'm just gonna follow the instructions on the seed packets. So like the Evil Olive, this is an interesting one. So it says it's a trifecta of marbled colors, ripens slowly, starting out in olive green and lightening up with red streaks when ripe. Insanely productive, one of the longest keepers. Super long trusses, over a dozen fruits per clusters of 1 to 1.5 ounce plum-sized fruit. Dang. So ideal temp for these is 75 to 95, which we're like right at 70, 71 in here. So it could be a little warmer. I could put a heat mat under these, which I probably won't. I'll just let them take a little bit longer to germinate. And then we plant the seed 1/8 of an inch deep, and so on and so forth. The only ones I'm gonna plant a little bit differently are the dill and basil. I'm actually gonna plant those almost microgreen style. I'm gonna get a tray that's just doesn't have the little cells in it, and I'm just gonna mass plant the seeds so that I can cut them all when they're babies, instead of like trying to get a big plant out of it. So I'm just gonna grab my watering can, get some water in it, and just get all set up here, and this should go pretty quickly. Benjamin was excited to plant seeds. Are you gonna help me with the seeds, dude? Okay. All right, here we go. Okay, oh, we got some water in here. We'll use that, see how far we can get. Okay. So we are using a seed starting mix as opposed to a traditional potting soil because it's a lot lighter of a blend of soil, which makes root development a lot easier for your brand new seedlings. When we get ready to pot these up, so once we're gonna fill this up with the seed starting mix and plant our seeds, but once our seedlings have grown up and put on a little bit of size, once we feel like we should bump them up into a larger size container, which I fully intend on doing with everything that I plant today because I just want it to continue growing on in the greenhouse, we will switch to a regular potting soil at that time. So we do need to pre-moisten this mix. It's really dry. In fact, some bags you'll get feel heavier. They just have a little more moisture in them, like if they sat outside when it was raining, because these aren't like completely watertight. This one though has been inside and it is dry. We need to moisten it, which will help a lot when we water the seeds and plant them and water them in for the first time. All right, dude, you wanna help me with this part? We gotta get our hands in the dirt. We gotta get our hands in the dirt. You ready for this? Okay, you can get up on the stool. All right, I'm gonna put a little bit of water in here, buddy. Do you wanna mix it up or do you want me to do that? Gotta get in there and mix it up with your hands. You want me to do it?
Yeah.
I'll start it and then maybe you want to do it too.
Maybe when all the, well, I'll help you.
Okay, I think we're gonna need a lot more water than that. Hang on, I'm gonna add more in. That soil is dry. Yeah, you're doing great, good job. I think we need more water though, huh? It's still dry. I might have to go out to the hose. You want me to rinse your hands off?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can you please wash my hands still?
Oh, I don't have any more water. I think I need to go get some more. You want to wait right there while I go get more?
Yeah.
Okay. This is actually perfect. So what you want is you want to be able to squeeze the soil, have it kind of form a little bit, but there's really no water squeezing out, a little tiny bit, but not a lot. It's not super soggy. So I'm just going to take some of this soil and fill up all of these. It feels so good to be doing this right now. Even if this turns out to be kind of a I don't know, mediocre or failed experiment, it's still fun to try stuff like this. Are you saying hi?
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got all the cells filled, but I'm just lightly pressing down just to eliminate any air pockets, and that way I can fill them the rest of the way if needed. Yeah, because some of them, like that one, is way lower than the rest. Yep, just a few need a little bit more.
A little bit more?
Okay, I'm gonna go wash my hand off quick. We're gonna make our labels really quickly because it's important to do that. We're gonna label all the cells first, probably before I actually even get into the seeds, just because I'm gonna be starting pretty much all of these, other than the dill and the basil, in the same tray. Okay, I'm gonna put this on the ground. So it kind of worked out perfectly because I've got 6 different varieties of things and there are 6 rows with 4 cells in each row. So we're just going to dedicate 1 row to each one of these things. So let's get them planted real quick. All right, Betty, do you want to plant a cucumber? So we need to plant these.
Yeah.
Sow seeds about 1 inch deep. Create 1 inch holes here. We're going to plant 2 seeds in each one of these holes. There's just 4 holes. 1, 2. Here you go. Here's 2 seeds. Those can go in that hole.
How about these holes?
Yep, that's the right one. Good job.
Okay. I should put. Wait, put one. Couple seeds.
Okay, and then there's 2 that go in this hole right here. There you go, bud. Okay, so now what we do is we take the soil and push it over the seeds a little bit. Great job. Looks good, bud. Okay, now I'm gonna plant the hot pepper because I don't know if this probably has some oil on it and I don't want that to get on your fingers, okay? In fact, we'll do this one last. Let's move on to baby bell peppers. Right here.
Pepper?
Yeah, and these we need to put in the soil 1/4 of an inch deep. 1/4 of an inch deep, not much.
Can I do that one?
Yes, you sure can. Okay, so it's gonna be in this row right here.
Okay.
Okay?
Should I do the red one?
Yep, a red and a yellow. Right in here.
This hole.
Okay,
And then I'll go on that
there we
one.
go. So now that you need to put some in that one before we forget. Great job. Now here, that one goes in that hole right there. Okay, and then, oh, I'll do the last hole. Now we'll do the tomato, good-hearted tomato. Goes in this hole right here. Isn't it crazy that a tomato plant comes from one of these tiny itty bitty little seeds? Nope. Did you put it in the same hole? That's okay. That's okay. We'll just get new seeds out.
Yeah, I was growing like 5.
That's okay. You should grow like 5 in there. Now let's do Campari tomatoes, which are tasty tomatoes. Go ahead and put those in the first hole. Okay. Okay, now I'm gonna do the hot pepper real quick.
We're just gonna hold it.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay. There, that worked out good, didn't it?
Yeah, now they're all gonna grow up.
Yeah. Oh, how exciting. So exciting. Okay, so here is our base.
I'll get a little bit of seeds so we can do it.
Let's find a humidity dome, and we got to water these in too, which that's a perfect job for you to help me with. And so we're going to lightly water all of these in. And that's the benefit of pre-moistening your soil. When we go to water these in today, we just have to water them lightly instead of worrying about saturating all the soil and making sure that, you know, it's all got a good amount of moisture in it. It already does. Also, it helps the seeds not get dislodged, because if the soil is too dry and then you start spraying it down with water, the soil wants to float all over the place. And so pre-moistening it kind of helps avoid that. Let me see if this works, buddy. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Let me put it in the tray. I think that might be a smart idea, because I think it's gonna get water everywhere. Okay, can you stand up on that stool? I'll hold you. There you go.
I can do it like this.
Okay. This is the button. Okay, you gotta pick it up and spray the whole thing. You can hold the button down. Yeah, just like that. Great job. Okay, I think I need to pump it up more. Like this. This is how you pump it up. You can do that if you want. Up and down, up and down. Oh yeah, that's some good action there. And this is the humidity dome right here. So this will help trap in moisture and keep the humidity levels up, which will eliminate the amount of times I need to water until our seedlings have sprouted. So once we see full germination in this tray, I'll take this dome off. We'll start an oscillating fan nearby so that the seedlings can get some air movement, because that's really important to keep them really nice and strong It's also helpful for fungus and also helpful for insects, keeping all of those pressures kind of low, keeping airflow up nicely. And then, well, like I said, I won't be using this self-watering feature like the little tray down here until they're up and growing. But I do like to kind of have the whole setup already done, even if I'm not using all the features. So these are just gonna go under a grow light, but I've got to plant my dill and basil next, so I'm gonna go grab a couple more trays. Okay, I don't think I have enough soil mixed up, but we'll see how far I can get. So here's what we're gonna do. Smell those. You like it? Yeah, you can put like several in this seed. Do you want me to show you how much? Oh my, I think I got one of my hairs in there. Ooh, at least we're not cooking. Okay. I'm just kind of pushing the soil down so we can get the seeds deep enough. And then I think what we should do, Benjamin, is do it kind of like this. See that? Isn't that fun?
Can I do that?
Yes, you sure can. Okay, keep your your fingies, there we go. Make sure to, okay, so grab it like this, and then turn your hand upside down, and then just kind of sprinkle it.
There's so much in there.
Oh boy, yep, that's a lot. Let's kind of spread some of those out a little bit.
Can I have one?
I think we've actually finished this one. We're gonna put a little more soil over the top of the seeds, and then we'll do the same thing with the basil. Okay, so I wanted to give you a close-up. This is how many dill seeds we put in here, quite a lot, but like I said, I wanna harvest these young. When they're babies, when they're just nice tender shoots, kind of more like microgreen style, rather than full-on plant style. So a little bit more soil. Do you wanna do a little more soil over the top of these? Like this. Just a little bit, just gently, gently. Just kind of cover them up a little bit. Great job. Now this one, we have to be a little more careful because we don't have as many seeds. So let me show you how many we have. Okay, so just take a pinch like this, take a pinch out of my hand and see, sprinkle them not all in one cell, but all the way up and down.
Oh, I have more.
Okay. Now a tiny bit of soil. I don't think that basil seeds want to be as buried as dill seeds want to be. Just a light layer.
There we go, that's how I do it.
Is that the ticket? All right, at the bottom for that one. Okay, I think we're good with water, baby. Thank you for your help. Our first seeds of the winter sown. So exciting. So this entire tray is full of dill. This one has all of our crops in it, 3 different types of tomatoes, 2 peppers, and a cucumber. And then this one has basil. And this is how I organize my seeds. I've showed you this before. It looks like a mess, probably to you guys, but it's not to me. It's kind of organized chaos. All of these on this side are herbs. All of these are vegetables that I have in smaller packets. I have another container with bigger bulk items, but it just starts with, like, for example, green globe artichoke in the front, and the last one in the back is sugar baby watermelon. So yep, just alphabetized that way. And it's a very scalable system. It works really well for me. So I'm going to put all of these packets back in the container, and then this one I'm going to take out of my inventory because I used up the whole package. I'm really excited to report back to you guys just to let you know what's going on with these throughout the winter months. Now that I can kind of give these a little bit more attention than I was able to give anything last winter, it's just kind of a fun thing. Plus we have kind of the right situation for it. When I start seeds in here, they do really well for a little while, but you know, we're inside. It's not ideal because like the airflow, the temperature, the light, everything is different outside when they get the real thing. So I think getting them out into a greenhouse situation is a step in the right direction out of the studio. And then of course, once it warms up, it's like the easiest. Like I hardly ever start any kind of vine crop from seed. Cucumbers, I never start from seed like this. I always just pop the seeds right in the ground once it's warm enough, but it'll be interesting to see if I can get them to fruit before my other ones fruit outside next year. I've actually considered in the greenhouse, because right now the floor is gravel and then there's a layer of landscape fabric that we put down right at the very beginning, and it's kept the weeds down beautifully. But I've considered scraping some of the gravel away from one section of that greenhouse and cutting the fabric out and then just working up that soil and planting straight in the ground. or even like sinking a soil heat cable in there for some extra ground warmth. That would be really an interesting experiment as well. It'll be fun throughout these next however many years that we get to utilize this greenhouse to see what we can make it do for us. And you know, while we're out here in the studio, I thought I would tackle a couple other things. There's a Tradiscancha I want to reroot. It's looking really, really poorly. And then there's a few amaryllis bulbs I want to plant as well. And you know, I should mention before we move on, I will be checking on these seeds once a day, making sure that the soil is moist. The Humidity Dome really is helpful though. I mean, it'll form condensation in there, and it's likely I'll be able to skip several days between watering. You don't have to provide them light until they germinate. So I'm gonna pop them under a grow light today, just because I'm gonna rearrange. I've got some room underneath one of them to put mine in, and that way they're good to go going forward. And my lights come on and off on their own every day. They're on for, I think, 14 hours right now, every day. Keeps everything really happy. So, but it's not necessary until you start seeing some green. So if you are gonna tackle something like this, you know, you can plant them and put them anywhere, and then make sure that you even either put them by a window or get them under a light once you start seeing some germination. So anyway, that is the plan. Had to take a quick break in between projects to make a quick cup of coffee, but this right here is the next project. So I don't remember what the name of this planter is off the top of my head. It's from Unique Stone. Does it have the word holly in the name? Because I think this is a holly garland, which makes this container quite perfect for potting up amaryllis, which I'm planting 3 of them in this container. It's kind of like an oval shape. And then these are called Barbados. And I think they're absolutely beautiful. Really striking. I did have quite the collection of amaryllis there going till about late summer. And at that point, we did kind of this big clean out, and I ended up giving them all to friends, because I just got to a point where I had so many of them and they were all blooming at odd times. I could never really get that, maybe like, I don't even know what percent, 10% of them to bloom at the right time. The rest of them were blooming in the middle of summer, which was beautiful. They're beautiful when they bloom at any point of the year, but it's just really hard to get their cycle right to where you have them blooming at Christmas time. So sometimes I like to kind of clean house a little bit and start fresh, which is what I'm doing this year. So I have these 3. I picked up 3 small bulbs when my mom and I were at Edward's greenhouse in Boise on our last shopping trip. I haven't potted those yet, but I haven't decided what container I want to put them in yet. And then I've got a couple of the really fancy amaryllis from Gardener Supply. And I would order those amaryllis just for the metal container they come in alone, because I use those metal containers for cut flower arrangements throughout the whole rest of the year after the amaryllis are done blooming. But maybe we can pop a picture on the screen of what the amaryllis look like, because they are gorgeous as well. I just can't remember what the name is. They're really easy to plant. The main thing is just to make sure that you're not getting any soil like too far up the bulb, because you don't want to risk getting any water or soil down into the neck of the bulb, because that can cause them to rot. So what I mean by that is that we don't want any water or soil going down in that section right there. So what I'm going to do is fill this container about to here, about to where I can set the bulb right on the top of the soil surface. And then I will put a little bit more soil in just about this high. So not even quite halfway up the bulb, but that will help keep the bulb in check. And honestly, planting them close together like I'm going to will help them stay upright, because they'll use each other as support. Otherwise, you most of the time need to provide them with some support. Otherwise, they kind of want to flop. So the soil will go up to here, and then the rest will be moss and pine cones. So it'll look really pretty, I think. And when we're done with that, we're going to tackle this Tradiscancha. We are going to take cuttings off the end and start this fresh, because oh my goodness, they are looking quite sad and they're a little crunchy. So a little bit neglected. Okay, so you can see where the soil level is here. You can see the amaryllis bulb roots come out the bottom there, and we're just going to nest it right down in the center. I think that's about center right there. And we'll do the same with the other 2, and they'll just be side by side in here, and that's totally fine. I kind of prefer it. Oh, that looks really good. And I'm using organic potting mix here. You don't need a special blend of soil, just the regular stuff works great. So I'm just going to tuck a little bit more soil in around each bulb, just to make sure that they're nice and tight in there. You can use rocks too, like little rock top dress to help with this part. But it's fortunate that this pot is already on the narrow side, because I think they'll stay upright in this really nicely. Okay, and then I have some pretties right here. This is preserved sheet moss, and then I've got some cones from our spruce tree that fell down this summer. So we're just going to take little pieces of this and we're just going to work them around the bulbs. In fact, I might lift these bulbs up a little bit higher. I might put a little more soil in. Hang on. Yeah. Yeah, that looks a lot better. I want to kind of see the top of the bulb there over the top of the container. So now I'm going to tuck in some moss and pine cones and then we'll be done. I think it looks really pretty. So we're just gonna water it in initially, just slightly, just enough to moisten the top layers of soil, making sure not to get any water down the neck of the bulbs. And then we won't water again until we start seeing growth coming out the top of these bulbs, which sometimes it can take a while. So honestly, planting right now at the end of November it's a bit hit and miss whether or not we'll actually see blooms by Christmas. It'll probably be after, unless these are extraordinarily fast, which is possible. I'm gonna have to think of something interesting to do for a saucer for this container. I think all containers should come with saucers that match both the shape and the color. Wouldn't that be nice? I would buy a saucer for every single container that I have. That is done. We've got our fresh amaryllis bulbs. Clean up for the next kind of disaster here. Okay, so this is called Tradiscancha, also known as Wandering Jew. It's a really nice, usually, trailing house plant that are fairly easy to keep looking good, and they're really easy to root. So these were incredibly neglected this summer, you can tell, because of all of the crunchy growth. So what I'm gonna do is just cut off all of the fresh tips, and I'm gonna put all of them, I've got 2 4-inch size of these. I'm gonna put all the tips in fresh soil and reroot them here in the studio. So I'll put them in the soil, water them in, put them underneath a grow light, let them root a little bit before I put them back out. So it's a really easy thing to do. You just take the fresh tip like this, and usually I'll cut about that much off, and we can strip a leaf like that. And then right along the main stem where the leaves meet the stem, it's called a node. And that's typically where the plant will form new roots. So we'll make sure when we stick this little cutting down in the soil that there's a node or 2 underneath the soil, and it will root, these root really, really fast. So it's something that I've done a whole bunch of times, and it's just a really easy way to kind of perpetuate your plant without having to buy a new one if you've let yours get like this. So let me give you a close-up look here. So you can see there's a lot of good plant left here. You can see this fresh tip right here. That looks beautiful. So what I'm gonna do, again, is follow the main stem back, cut it down probably to here. So I'm left with, I don't know, 4 or 5-inch piece there. And then I'm gonna take the leaf off the bottom, which is not 100% necessary, but I will probably bury it right up to this point in fresh soil. So right up to the bottom of that next leaf. So I'm just gonna continue to cut all of the tips off of the plant, and then we'll get a close-up when I put them in the soil. Okay, so we've got a pile of beautiful cuttings here. Look at how pretty that is. And I did go ahead and just cut the plant back, and we'll see what happens to the original ones here. So these will go back under the grow lights and we'll keep them watered. And then here is an example of the spent stem where one of the nice tips was removed. Technically, you could pop different segments of this stem down into the container and see what happens. I mean, eventually it could form roots as well and push new growth. But I typically don't worry about that because I'm not trying to get a bunch of new plants. I'm just trying to kind of create a nice one again. So that is my main goal. So what I do at this point, you can use rooting hormone like a powder if you want, but typically these are really easy. I pop a hole in the soil and then in goes the cutting like that. Like, it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. like that. And then in no time they root and they're this huge, full, beautiful plant. So let's see how this goes. I might be able to do 2 containers with these. We'll see. Oh my goodness, that looks so pretty. And I have enough to do 1 more small container. Okay, we're just gonna water them in thoroughly. And then these are done. It's a really great way not just to clean up a really crummy looking plant like mine were, but also to keep the vining in check. If your plant has started to get a little bit too long and you just need to kind of start over with a more compact plant, you can just cut it back, stick the ends back in the soil, and you're good to go again. Well, I would call this and all of these and that a very productive and fun afternoon in the studio. Just potting things and starting some seeds. I love it. I'll probably post a picture update of the amaryllis when it's blooming. If it's in December, that would be awesome. If not, if it's in January, they're always just a really welcome bright spot of color. And I always love it when they're in bloom. And then of course with the seeds, I'll let you guys know how those are doing throughout the course of whatever they do. I'm not really stressed about the herbs, the dill and the basil, especially the basil. I am pretty confident in those, but the warm season crops, the tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, how awesome would it be if even in like April or even May, like we're actually getting some produce off of those? That would be so awesome. So awesome, even better like the earlier we can do it. Of course, the whole growing things in a heated greenhouse is completely brand new to me. I don't really know how to do that and how to do things, you know, off season. So this is going to be a learning curve for me, and I just got to start somewhere. So this is the start. We'll see how it goes. So anyway, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me this afternoon in the studio. Just super fun, kind of putzing around, just doing little things, getting things done and trying stuff out. So thanks so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.